Hey YouTube, welcome to another mock draft. Before we get started, can you do me a favor? Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. Roto mock draft is coming up next.
Welcome to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast from CBS Sports.
And first pitch crushing. Deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball.
Got a fantasy question? Email fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. Get ready to win your league.
Where fantasy becomes reality.
Now here's Frank, Scott, and Chris.
All right, keep your head up, everybody, and let's have some fun. Welcome into another live mock draft edition of Fantasy Baseball Today. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today we have a 12-team 5x5 Roto mock draft with the usual Roto-style lineup. 2 catchers, 1 of each infield position, 1 corner infielder, 1 middle infielder, 5 outfielders, 1 utility bat, and 9 pitcher spots. I have the 3rd pick, Scott has the 8th pick, and Chris has the 12th overall pick. And before we get started, just a heads up on the podcast side of things that this draft will be broken down into a 2-part podcast. So if you listen to hour 1, keep an eye out for hour 2 in your podcast feeds. How are we doing, Scotty? You ready to draft? You are muted, sir. So if you are trying to talk to me, it is not working.
You told me to mute before we started.
Sounds like Scott is not ready.
Yeah, clearly I'm not. Yeah, let's do this. Let's get in the right frame of mind to do a fantasy baseball draft despite today's disappointing news. And we can still have a lot of fun with this. So I'm looking forward to starting.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, everyone, keep your head up. We're still going to have some fun regardless of what's going on in baseball right now. We got to stay ready for whenever the league is ready to start up and end this lockout. And as a result, we'll keep the content coming. We'll have some fun. And let's do a little mock draft. Let's have some fun. Again, this is a 12-team Roto mock. I have the 3rd overall pick. And first overall, no surprise in this format, Fernando Tatis Jr. And let's see who goes 2nd overall. My buddy Dave Mendelson is up on the clock. See who he has.
I did want to ask you guys.
What's up?
Because hi, Chris Towers here.
What's up, man?
I did a draft today. I think it's my first completed draft that I'm playing out this year, actually. And it was the Tout Wars 12-team mixed Roto with OBP innings pitched instead of wins and saves and holds instead of saves.
I didn't know Tout Wars was already starting up.
Yes, today.
Yeah.
And I took Fernando Tatis with the number 1 overall pick in an OBP Roto league. Do you think that was the right choice?
Well, the other players you would consider are Trey Turner, and it's not like he has some kind of crazy walk rate. I guess the batting average will be higher, so in turn, the OBP will be higher. Jose Ramirez, kind of similar situation. No, I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I guess Juan Soto is more so in the conversation because it's OBP. But if you want to get some steals with your first pick, I have no problem still taking Tatis.
Yeah, I think it comes down to Soto versus Tatis in that format.
Yeah. I mean, I have questions about how much power production Soto is going to provide relative to the average first rounder, certainly relative to somebody like Tatis. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't overthink it because of the OBP thing. In general, replacing OBP with batting average in a Roto league, which is not what we're doing in this mock, by the way. I think there's a danger in overestimating that.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, I think obviously we boost Juan Soto and OBP, and his walk rate is going to be absolutely ridiculous. We saw that especially in the second half last year, but it's always been the case for him. Let's catch people up and keep this draft moving here. 1st overall, Fernando Tatis. 2nd overall, Trey Turner. And then I took Jose Ramirez. So I believe you gentlemen have Vlad over Jose Ramirez, but want to get 3rd base out of the way. I want to get some speed with my first pick. I go with Jose Ramirez. We see Juan Soto go 4th overall. Then Vlad Guerrero goes off the board. And Garrett Cole, our first starting pitcher, goes 6th overall. And then just after that, Mike Trout goes. And Scotty, you are up. What are we doing?
Oh, boy. Well, I wanted to pick 8th here. because that's where I'm picking in Tout Wars next week. So it gives me a chance to kind of game plan for that, even though this is a 12-teamer and
Must be
Wars
nice
League is a 15-teamer.
Be able to choose where you're drafting.
It is, isn't it? It is nice. So Bo Bichette is still here, and that's the chalk pick. There's Shohei Ohtani, who hit almost twice as many home runs as Bo Bichette last year. I don't expect Bo Bichette is going to be available for me at 8th overall in Tout Wars. So I'm going to play this with Ohtani, who I do think I actually have ranked higher too. And we'll see how it goes filling that utility spot right away. And just how the overall team build goes with Ohtani, because I don't think I've had a chance to experiment with that yet.
Alrighty, Ohtani 8th overall, and then Bryce Harper goes the pick after. Scott, I do just want to follow up quickly on that. So you have 8th overall pick in Tout Wars, which is a 15-team league, right?
Right.
Do you worry more about filling your utility spot early just because there's so many more players drafted? There's so many lineup spots to fill in a 15-team league where, obviously taking a non-position player is, it's a little different than anything we've ever done before in the first round, at least.
No, I don't really think it's a big problem. Last year, there were so many DH only types. Alvarez was, Stanton was, JD Martinez was, in addition to Ohtani and a couple others. This year, there's really only 3, right? Ohtani, Cruz, and Franmil Reyes.
Yep.
And Ohtani's by far the best of them. I think the deeper the league, the easier it is to do that, because you're less likely going to stumble into this miraculous value at a position you've already filled. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But I'm not so worried about that with Ohtani this year. Although I will note that in TGFBI, another 15-team Roto league, I took Vladimir Guerrero in round 1, and then Freddie Freeman lasted to me in round 2. So I started with 2 first basemen, and if I didn't have a DH spot available, I might not have been so willing to do that.
Indeed. All right. Well, after you took Shohei Ohtani, we see Bryce Harper go. Bo Bichette goes 10th overall. Ronald Acuna finally goes off the board. Chris, you select Mookie Betts with one of your picks, and you're on the clock with the first pick of the second round. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I've got Freddie Freeman as my top-ranked player, but Kyle Tucker is my number 2 player, so it's not really a big difference there. It's my 12 and 13 overall, so all 11 of my top 11 players have been taken. And I'm thinking I'm going to try the outfield double tap to start with Tucker and Betts, because I haven't done that one yet. It's weird. I have Betts ranked pretty high, and I actually haven't really drafted him much yet so far. So going to go with Betts and Tucker here, and let's see how that goes.
All right. Yeah, we have 5 outfielder spots to fill in a Roto style format. So obviously you don't have to worry about filling those outfield spots up too quickly, but I wonder if it's something that will play its way into your draft strategy later on in the draft. So we'll wait and find out there. RJ White goes with the Brave stack. Ronald Acuna with his first pick. Freddie Freeman goes 14th overall with his second round pick. And then we see our second starting pitcher off the board. Corbin Burns goes 15th overall to Micah Henry, our buddy, friend of the podcast. We had him on earlier in the off season. And one more pick until Scotty is back up.
So I want to bring up the Acuna thing, 11th overall. Yep. Now that the season is delayed at least a week, we don't know how much longer it could be, but at least a week. Is Acuna just like an automatic first rounder now for you guys? Are you not, if you're picking at the end of round 1, are you not letting Acuna get by you?
I have a feeling that Chris probably wasn't going to let him get by him anyway in the first round.
Yeah.
I think I need a little bit more time to be delayed. Not that I want that to happen, obviously, but I think as we get further into April, Scott, if we start to lose more games and, we move closer to May, then I think we're talking about Acuna as like a bona fide first round pick again. And depending on how much time we lose, I mean, we could be talking about him as a top 5 pick again. So.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously depends how much time we lose, but I still go back, like the last we heard of a timetable for him was May, and that was coming directly from him, who would be the most optimistic person of anyone. And that still leaves a lot of potential for things to go wrong. And I just hate to end up blowing my first round pick like that. I still don't think I'm there. But if we start canceling multiple weeks of the season, then I could get there pretty quickly. I ended up taking Rafael Devers with my second pick, 17th overall. Went out of it was more the chalk pick than what my own rankings suggest, but I may need to amend my own rankings if that's the case, because just it's nice to not have to overpay for some security at third base. Particularly since I got some stolen bases in the first round. I was looking at Luis Robert there in round 2 as well. But I decided to go ahead with Devers and not have to stress over the Austin Riley, Nolan Arenado, Alex Bregman situation later on.
All right, so let's see what else happened here. After Corbin Burns went, Jacob deGrom went 16th overall. Then, Scott, you selected Rafael Devers, as you mentioned. Max Scherzer, Luis Robert, Starling Marte, and Ozzie Albies go off the board. And I find myself in a bit of a pickle here because I've got Jose Ramirez already. My top-ranked player, for those watching on YouTube, you see it right here. Manny Machado is my top-ranked hitter. And I don't want to double-tap third base as much as, I love Manny Machado, the player. So I'm just going to go with a pitcher. I'm going to take my highest-ranked pitcher, and that is Zach Wheeler, get myself an ace. And we'll see what hitter makes it back to me here in the third round. I did want to bring up Brad Johnson's pick of Starling Marte because I believe he selected Vlad Guerrero in the first round. Yeah, he did. So if you're somebody who worries about getting speed with your first round pick in a Roto league, I think that this is a pretty good way to start a team that has Vladimir Guerrero. So obviously you take him first round, and then in the second round you get Starling Marte. I don't think anyone's really expecting the 47 steals that he had last year, but if he hits for a good batting average like he always does, scores a bunch of runs, and steals 30 to 35 bases, then he's worth a second-round pick. And he's a really good player to pair with Vladimir Guerrero. So I do like that pairing in the first 2 rounds. All right.
Marte is someone who it feels like there's a wide range of potential places he can get drafted, because sometimes you'll see him in that second-round range, and then I want to say he went 40th in my TGFBI today or something like that.
Your TGFBI is going very differently from mine, if that's the case, because stolen bases are being inflated it's out of control, Chris. It's out of control.
Let me make sure, but I think that was the case. It's entirely possible I'm just lying.
I suppose I should probably volunteer my
31. Okay.
My take on Starling Marte, and Whit Merrifield falls into this category too.
Sure.
I am so invested in not shortchanging the power categories this year that I just can't do it. I just can't take a guy who's not even going to give me 20 home runs with an early round pick there, much less 25 or 30 home runs, because it's really tough to keep up in that category. It doesn't take much to have a middle of the league finish in stolen bases. It takes a lot in to do so in home runs, and plus you need. Runs and RBI are directly tied to home runs in a way that stolen bases aren't. So shortchanging the home run category is a quick path to sinking your team's entire offense. So I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen this year. That's my number one priority in Roto leagues.
Yep. Scotty has mentioned he is part of the 0 SB strategy this year. My rebuttal to the rebuttal would be that finding players who can provide both batting average and steals together, it's pretty rare. And I think that you could find a decent amount of power in the middle parts of your draft. But if you want to, just load up on those 4 categories and try and get as much of it as you possibly can, then I see both sides. But me personally, I'm still going to try and build for as much balance as I can. And hopefully find some power in those middle rounds. Let's see. After I selected Zach Wheeler, Brandon Woodruff, and Manny Machado to finish out round 2, and starting up round 3, Cedric Mullins, Yordan Alvarez went 1 pick before. I actually would have selected Yordan Alvarez. And after that happened, I figured I'd try something different. So I selected Walker Buehler, 2 starting pitchers, my first 3 picks. Not something that I normally do, but this is the part of doing mock drafts, right? Trying out new strategies. And so I want to see how this team turns out overall. So I've got Walker Buehler, Zach Wheeler, and Jose Ramirez for my first 3 picks. The king Scott Engel selects Marcus Semien, 28th overall. Shout out to the king. Then we see Salvador Perez.
Oh, Brad Johnson.
No, Salvador
What are you
Perez.
doing to me?
No Salvi for Scott in this draft.
No.
But after Salvador Perez goes, we see Matt Olson, Aaron Judge, and that brings us to you, Scott. What do we got?
I think we got Shane Bieber.
Seems like a pretty good value.
Yeah, I mean, that's by far my highest ranked player. 4 of my top 5 players are all starting pitchers, and Shane Bieber is my favorite of them. So yeah, it's normal to see him go at the 2-3 turns. So I'll take him in the back half of round 3 here. My top rank hitter among those pitchers, by the way, was Austin Riley, but that's the advantage of taking Devers early on, is you don't have to stretch yourself at third base like that.
Alrighty, yeah. So you've got Shohei Ohtani, you've got Rafael Devers, and now Shane Bieber. 2 hitters and a pitcher, hopefully a healthy pitcher. Shane Bieber coming back from that shoulder injury that he suffered last season. We are up to pick 33 overall. Our buddy Dan Schneier's on the clock. Let's see what happens there. Scott, I mean, I've got to say, look, as much as you like Salvador Perez, 29th overall, it's probably earlier than you'd like to select him, right?
Yeah. I mean, I already stretched the Salvador Perez rule in TGFBI, took him in the front half of round 3. When my rule is anytime he's available in round 4, no matter what the format, no matter what else you have going on, you take Salvador Perez in round 4. But TGFBI, 15-team league, it was 35th overall pick. That's about what his ADP is. So I wanted him badly enough that I knew he wouldn't be there toward the end of round 4. But this is different. The 12-team league, obviously. I don't know. I think the shallower league actually justifies the reach a little more than a deeper league does, right? Like if I was going to take Salvador Perez ahead of ADP early in round, inside the top 30 picks, I would rather do it in a 12-team league than a 15-team league, because I don't know that getting the advantage, being the standout at a position, counts for as much in a deeper league where everybody's going to have some duds somewhere in their lineup,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, no, it's kind of tough because I feel like the people who wait on catcher, their catchers are going to be so bad. So like the advantage grows even more when you have Salvador Perez in a 15-team league.
Yeah. What percentage of the total number of catchers started are going to be basically bad? It's going to be 80% of started catchers in the league, right?
Right.
We're getting a little off topic here, obviously, talking about a 15-team versus a 12.
Sure.
But yeah, anyway, we got some more picks here.
Yeah, let's catch people up on what's going on. After you selected Shane Bieber, Robbie Ray, Josh Hader, and Julio Arias go. And then Chris, you go with Whit Merrifield and Liam Hendricks. So my question was going to be, did Josh Hader go too early in this draft? And then you go ahead and select the second closer available. So you now have 2 outfielders, potentially 3 if you want to use Whit there, and Liam Hendricks. What's going on?
Yeah, and this is obviously it's a mock draft. This is the year where closers are getting pushed up, and I'm pretty opposed to that, but I want to see what happens if you follow this route. So I think I've got a really nice base of hitters, probably a little light on power at this point in the draft, but it's 3 rounds in, and I should be pretty good in batting average. So and batting average and stolen bases. So I'll have the flexibility to chase some power moving forward. So I want to see what happens if I, go with the recent trend of having, an early round closer, which is not something I typically do.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, unfortunately, Chris, you won't have George Springer on your team because he just went 40th overall.
I thought about it.
That's your guy. And right before Springer went, we see Teoscar Hernandez and Tim Anderson off the board. Scotty, you are up, and you have 2 hitters and 1 pitcher. Which way are you leaning here?
I am leaning pitcher, not because I really want 2 pitchers with my first 4 picks in a Roto league, but because, having already filled third base, Austin Riley's still out there. Not going to take him, though, obviously. I think a pitcher is clearly the best player left again. So I'm pairing up Sandy Alcantara with Shane Bieber, and hopefully that puts less pressure on me to draft Charlie Morton, which, as we know, is one of my top priorities in every draft. So I still hope to, but if somebody sneaks in there and grabs him before I can, that's fine. I'm off to a nice start here at starting pitcher.
Potentially more Charlie Morton for me later on in the draft. Although I've got 2 pitchers, so I probably don't need him either. After you selected Sandy Alcantara, a pick that I love, Paul Goldschmidt, Xander Bogaerts, Austin Riley, and Aaron Nola go off the board. And I am left thinking, what do I do now? I've got 2 pitchers. I've got Jose Ramirez. I'm on the clock. Trevor Story is my highest ranked player. I think it's pretty close with Francisco Lindor. Ooh, nobody that I truly love here. Let's see. What do the guys after me have so far? Mendelson, he has a shortstop and an outfielder. He's got a third baseman and a shortstop. All right, so I think I could get a good shortstop coming back to me, which means I need power, Scotty, and I'm taking Pete, the polar bear, Alonso, 46th overall. I would have selected Paul Goldschmidt if he made it to me here, but he did not. So I want to rack up some power, potential 40 homer bat. And like what I saw from him in the second half last year, batting average was up. I always kind of felt like Alonso could hit for more batting average. He had a really good batting average in the minors too. So I think there's a chance we get a 270 plus 40 to 45 home run season from Alonso. And
definitely
truly awesome. Yeah.
With the way he cut his strikeout rates down last year below 20%. Yeah, no, honestly, I was hoping he'd make it to me in round 5 because I see him do that from time to time. It turns out Tim Kanek, who's picking 2 spots after you, said he was about to take him. So clearly that had no chance of happening. But
take that.
No, I like the pick.
All right. Let's see if I can grab one of these shortstops if they make it back to me. Although, here's what I'm concerned about. I've got Jose Ramirez. I've got Pete Alonso. Let's say I wind up with a Trevor Story or a Francisco Lindor here. Not the best batting average. And typically, I like to protect the batting average as much as I can early on in a Roto draft. But admittedly, Pete Alonso, one of those shortstops, and Jose, I mean, you're probably looking at a 265-ish batting average from your first 3 batters, which, I'd probably want that to be better. So we'll see. We'll see what these guys do. Lucas Giolito went 1 pick after me. Emmanuel Clase is off the board, I believe, as the
third relief pitcher. Yep.
Third closer off the board. All right.
Ahead of Bryce Iglesias.
Which I'm struggling with Clase this season because I really liked him last year, but I don't know if I like him as that elite cost closer just because he's not going to be an elite strikeout guy, So, or at least I don't think he is. I think he's going to be I think it'll be kind of like Jordan Hicks when he was doing really well, but with better control. And obviously that's a very good pitcher, but if you're going to take a closer in the third or fourth round, I struggle with the idea of it being a guy who probably can't get you 100 plus strikeouts, I think Raisel Iglesias is a little fringy and he's got a chance at 100 strikeouts. I think there's a really, really slim chance that Emmanuel Clase ever gets you that.
That's a good point. Yeah. I originally had Clase ranked ahead of Iglesias, but I wasn't expecting any of them to go in the round 4 or 5 range. I think when you add that context to it, you need to make sure there are benefit in strikeouts as well. I just want to take a closer in this range myself, but if you're going to, I hear what you're saying, Chris.
Tim, who selected Emmanuel Clase, did defend the pick here in the chat. I like Clase more than Raisel, better stuff, and he is amazing at limiting hard contact. Which?
Oh yeah, no, I think he's I think he's got an incredibly high floor, and he legitimately might be best in league at limiting hard contact with the stuff he has. He's just so hard to square up. He's kind of like Sandy Alcantara, among relief pitchers in that way. And that he's got so much movement and his pitchers are so hard that it's incredibly hard to square him up.
I do think, Chris, that there could be more strikeouts on the way for Clase. He over his final 32 appearances, had a 17.7% swinging strike rate, which, if that was just his total for the year, would rank among the league leaders among relief pitchers. So I think that we could see more strikeouts on the way. Maybe he doesn't get to that super elite mark, but can he get up to 11 or 12 Ks per nine? I think that's doable for Emmanuel Clase this year. I'm a fan. I would still take Raisel Iglesias over him myself. But I do like both guys quite a bit. JT Realmuto went off the board with the first pick of round 5. Then Byron Buxton goes, and I'm sticking to my guns, sticking to my word. I take Francisco Lindor as my third hitter, 51st overall. Edwin Diaz, Trevor Story, Freddie Peralta, Will Smith, the catcher. Those are the next 4 picks. And Scotty, you are on the clock, thinking hard.
I am thinking hard. I'm going to take Corey Seager. It was between Corey Seager and Jose Altuve for me, and I actually made the opposite choice in TGFBI, went Altuve over Seager. But the difference there is I began with Vladimir Guerrero and Freddie Freeman, 2 surefire 300 hitters. And in this draft, I began with Shohei Ohtani, who might not hit 250. So I felt like the batting average boost from Corey Seager, I was willing to take on a little health risk there, I guess, for the advantage in batting average he's likely to give me over Jose Altuve.
Well, I will point out, Scott, his first series was going to come against the Yankees, I believe, in Yankee Stadium. I have to confirm that. So he's losing out on games in Yankee Stadium, which for a left-handed bat, those would have been great for Corey Seager, unfortunately. After Corey Seager goes, the name you were just talking about, Jose Altuve, goes next pick off the board. Micah Henry selects Raisel Iglesias, and I believe he has both Raisel Iglesias and Josh Hader. He does. He's got 2 elite closers to go along with Corbin Burns, Tim Anderson, and Bo Bichette. So 2 shortstops, 2 closers, and a starting pitcher. An interesting build. Interested to see how it turns out.
I mean, you see it a lot. You see it a lot in these Roto leagues, particularly industry leagues, a lot of expert types. They like to not only go big on closers, but double up often at expense of their hitters and their starting pitchers. And I don't get it, but it's common enough that I can't help but second guess myself. Like, what am I missing? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out for them. But for me, it's you're paying for security rather than production, because there are going to be later relievers that deliver similar production. Maybe not in all 5 categories, but certainly in the one that matters most.
Yep. And I think just based on where we're at right now in the offseason, there's a lot of uncertainty revolving, closers and bullpens in general. There's still a lot of, things that need to happen in the offseason. Kenley Jansen, Craig Kimbrell, where are these guys going to line up? So I think, again, people want those quote unquote safe closers right now. Right. And of course, Raisel Iglesias fits that bill.
There are 10 surefire closers right now, and one is Mark Melancon. So I get it. It's just that scarcity won't be true for the entire season. It'll only be true like right now, even before the start of the season. We'll probably have a couple more surefire closers, and then more will emerge within the first couple weeks of the season. And I just think it's stressing over something that you don't need to stress about.
All right, let's catch people up. After Raisel Iglesias goes, Wander Franco goes 59th overall. Chris goes with Nick Castellanos and Jose Abreu. Then Lance Lynn and Ketel Marte. Chris, you passed on Ketel Marte, man.
The thing is, he doesn't go this high usually.
You got caught playing the ADP.
He goes 20 picks to you. He goes 20 picks later, and it was a spot where, based on what I have already, Whit Merrifield going into that as my offense, Whit Merrifield, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker. So 3 outfield eligible players, and the one who's not, or who's double eligible, is second base. Ketel Marte is a second base and outfield eligible player. None of those guys figure to be standouts in power or run production. So I made a decision to chase power and run production in Nick Castellanos and Jose Abreu in packages who won't hurt me in batting average, hopefully. And, it was a numbers game, I guess, in passing on Ketel Marte and just hoping that he would be back. He would be there next time I picked.
Yeah, I know that Micah is a big fan of Ketel Marte. Saw him tweet out that he thinks Marte can compete for the MVP this season. Some lofty expectations, 300 batting average, 40 homers he threw out there. I think the power is, probably unrealistic, but man, if, can he hit 25 to 30 with a 300 batting average? I think it's doable. But
Yeah,
let's see.
absolutely.
After you selected Jose Abreu, we see Lance Lynn. Again, Ketel Marte goes. Nolan Arenado. Scotty selects Kevin Gausman. Randy Arozarena goes. Aroldis Chapman. And then Logan Webb. I am on deck. And Scott, I'll let you talk about your pick of Kevin Gausman. You selected him over Charlie Morton. How could you do this? I think you're muted, Scotty.
He is.
Sorry, too much coughing. I did the same thing in TGFBI. Went Gausman ahead of Morton, departing from my own rankings, playing to ADP, and it worked out. I got Morton 2 rounds later. So I'm going to try it again. This is my third starting pitcher. Provided I do take Morton with my next pick, that'll be 4 starting pitchers in my first 7 picks, which is not at all how I'm looking to build my Roto teams this year. But I just don't like the value of the hitters right now. I just think this particular group has been less aggressive about drafting pitchers, and so that's forcing me to rethink my strategy midstream. And it's probably worth trying that in a mock. See how that ends up playing out for me if I end up liking my hitters hitting when all's said and done. Brandon Lau was the hitter I was looking at, but I already had Ohtani, right? Another low average, high power guy. So we'll see. If Morton ends up going before my next pick, then hopefully Lau's still there and I can take him instead.
All right. I selected Eloy Jimenez, 70th overall in round 6, and I'm happy to do so. I didn't have an outfielder yet, so he is my first. Need him to stay healthy, obviously. Wrote about him in Breakouts 1.0. I think everything was trending up for Eloy Jimenez entering last season, and then, of course, he tore his pec in spring training. But, man, if he's healthy in that lineup, I think we could see him go 280 plus, 30 to 35 home runs, 100 plus RBI. Just really needs to stay healthy. I think, that kind of potential is in the bat of Eloy Jimenez. After I selected him, we see Alex Bregman go, Jorge Polanco, Tyler O'Neill, and Ryan Presley. So another closer goes off the board. And I have a decision to make. Charlie Morton is my top available player. I already have 2 starting pitchers. I could use another outfielder. Decisions. That would be JD Martinez in the rankings. Could use the batting average. Brian Reynolds is there. All right, I'm talking it through. I'm going to take JD Martinez. I think it's really close between him and Brian Reynolds. Reynolds probably helps the batting average more. JD Martinez, I think, gives you a few more home runs. So you trade off a little bit. I think JD, 280 hitter, 25 to 28 homers at this point in his career. But in the Red Sox lineup, should have a bunch of counting stats as well. And, of course, Brian Reynolds goes with the next pick overall. So I get my first 2 outfielders, help the batting average, help the power out a little bit. And I still have 2 aces. Yeah, I like the way this team is playing out so far. Let's see how it continues to go. Right. Brian Reynolds went. I mentioned that. Jonathan India goes 77th overall. I want to check in on Brad Johnson's team. I feel like he hasn't drafted a pitcher yet. Let's see what he's got going on. He's got Salvi. He's got Vladimir Guerrero, Jonathan India, Austin Riley, Trevor Story, and Starling Marte. He's got Logan Webb as his lone starting pitcher. So, all right, loaded up on some offense. Let's see how the pitching turns out there as well.
So he's the one causing this for me. He's the one forcing me to take.
Well, me too. I only have 1 reliever. So we've got 3 teams so far. 1, 2, 3 teams so far with only 1 pitcher. Actually 4. And 2 of them only have a reliever. So it's an interesting start so far.
Now that Jonathan India pick is really interesting. It's earlier than we typically see him, but that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is that second base is thinning very fast. I don't have one yet. If India's already gone and Brandon Lau's still there, and I already have 3 starting pitchers, maybe this is the draft where I can live without Charlie Morton. Maybe I just need to take Lau. And so basically Lau and Javier Baez are the last 2 standouts at second base. After that, you're risking injury with Muncy. You're taking a big performance risk with Chisholm, right? Jazz Chisholm is still there, I assume.
Yep, he is.
So we know I don't like him.
Scotty, before you make your pick, can you just back out the Anthony Rendon pick? I believe George wants Jack Flaherty.
Okay.
So he'll make that.
Yeah, he did get timed out there.
I assume Mike will stick with his pick of Adalberto Mondesi, and then you will be back on the clock, sir.
Yeah. Give me time to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go Lau.
Right.
And if somehow Morton is still there in round 8, I'll almost certainly take him.
I have a good feeling that whoever's picking at 12 probably will not let Charlie Morton get past him, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
He doesn't have a starting pitcher yet. He just
we'll see. We'll see. Who
Yeah,
knows?
We'll see. Kyle Schwarber goes with the very next pick. I'm sorry, Scotty. You will not wind up with Kyle Schwarber in today's draft.
He's really... I don't know what his recent ADP looks like, but I find that I'm not getting him as much anymore.
Well, I will. Let's see. I'll pull up last 2 weeks ADP over on the NFBC and find out where Kyle Schwarber's been going. Javier Baez. I think that this is a pretty appropriate range for Baez to go.
Yeah.
82nd overall. I think it makes sense.
If Mike Gianella was listening and said, "I'm gonna mess with Scott and take Brandon Lau here right before he picks," I would have taken Baez because that's that was the last quality second baseman. IMHO.
Last 2 weeks over at the NFBC, Kyle Schwarber's ADP is 117.5. I believe
it hasn't really changed.
I believe when we did the outfield preview that he was around 130. So
yeah, well, I mean, he went 81 here, so that's
that's pretty high.
Yeah.
Actually, I lied. No, Fantasy Pros has him at 117. So, all right, not much of a change there, I guess. Dan Schneier's just reading your content, Scotty, and he wants to sell some Kyle Schwarber.
That's true. That was somebody who edits my work. Yes,
that makes sense.
I've apparently made a convincing case.
Ooh, all right,
Chris.
RJ. I will say, I'm not a big fan of Chris Sale this year, but for him to go 83rd overall, I think that's pretty good value. So I don't like him when his ADP was inside the top 60 picks, but you get him 20 to 25 picks later, and all of a sudden he's a much better value. All right, Chris. So you double tap, 2 of your guys here at the 7-8 turn. You get Giancarlo Stanton and Charlie Morton, your first starting pitcher. I think this worked out pretty well for you so far.
Yeah, I think Stanton's a very good fit for the way my team's been built so far because I've got that, nice bedrock of, average runs and stolen bases with my top 3 picks. And the only problem is I've got 4 outfielders now. So
that's interesting.
That's filled up pretty quickly, but, eschewing pitching early on and still ending up with Charlie Morton and Liam Hendricks, I think that's a pretty interesting start. Good base. So Scott doesn't appear to agree with that.
Oh, I'm just cursing RJ under my breath again. Yeah. He's always doing bad things to me.
So I think this is an interesting start for my team.
All right. Before we get further into round 8 on the podcast side of things, we're going to take a quick break. But when we return, we'll continue on with our Roto mock draft here, Fantasy Baseball Today. All right. So let's pick things back up. And after Charlie Morton goes, we see Carlos Correa, the pick that made Scotty curse RJ.
Yeah, that was the last of that giant tier at shortstop. So now it's Willie Adames or Buck. Oh wait, I already got Corey Seager.
Yeah, I was going to say,
what am I doing?
Don't say
what am I doing, Frank?
There's always Schmilly Schmadamus later on, Scott.
There is, yes, but I shouldn't be stressing out about shortstop anyway because I could get a middle infielder, obviously, but
correct.
But yeah, I got shortstop covered.
All right. Carlos Correa goes. Jose Barrios, 87th overall. Scotty, you are on the clock. Cody Bellinger goes. Oh, man. So I guess Dan is taking on that role of the troll FBT team today because he's taking quite a few of the players that we like. And look, I guess it makes sense. Scott, you're up. 89th overall. Who you got?
Yeah. Well, I still think I like the pitchers more than the hitters that are available. So even though, man, I didn't get Charlie Morton, and I'm about to take my fourth starting pitcher here in Frankie Montas, who I seem to be higher on than the consensus. Last 15 starts, his swinging strike rate went way up. His splitter usage went way up. If he can sustain that, then I think there's another level for him to reach here. And even if he doesn't, I mean, just the final numbers being what they were in 2021 are certainly good enough for this range. So my fourth starting pitcher, I'm normal. Like, it's not uncommon for me to draft Frankie Montas as my second starting pitcher. Like, Morton is my number one and Montas is my number two. So yeah, clearly I am approaching this Roto draft a little differently than most of the ones I've done.
All right. After you selected Montas, we see Yu Darvish go off the board, Christian Yelich, and Dalton Varsho. So again, Yelich and Bellinger kind of married at the hip here. Usually once we see one of those guys go, the other one goes not too long after that. And then Jazz Chisholm goes with the next pick. And it appears that I have missed out on the acceptable second baseman. And as I mentioned on our position previews recap, you know, this problem keeps happening to me. I think I got to make second base more of a priority in my drafts because I don't know. Now I'm just going to wait and take Gene Segura or Colton Wong later on, basically. So I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. I could take a catcher here. I don't have one of those yet. Thinking about there's a pitcher that I like.
Max Muncy is there. I don't know. Like, to me, Max Muncy is radioactive. So like, I just think it's less than a coin's flip chance he's available for the majority of this season. IMHO.
I just wish we knew, because like that injury isn't necessarily a giant issue for all position players. Like, you see position players play through UCL damage. Shohei Ohtani did it as a rookie when he needed Tommy John surgery. So it's just an unknown. I think that's the real issue. And like, again, I've said it a lot, but that's the thing, that if we were having spring training right now, we would at least know a little bit about how he's doing right now. It wouldn't change whether he would be able to make it through the season or not. I think there's still risk of that, but we don't quite know what it means right now, I guess is the best way to put it.
That's a really good point you mentioned about Ohtani, because remember, after it was known Ohtani needed Tommy John surgery to pitch again, he was done pitching. They just made him full-time DH for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And DH is, we assume, coming to the NL now. So, you know, if the Dodgers could just plant Max Muncy at DH if the elbow wasn't working for him in the field, and maybe he could last the whole season that way. But I'm just not confident that's the way it's going to play out.
All right. No, that's fair. It would be one thing. It would be a lot easier if we had gotten some kind of update one way or the other. Like, he's a month away or he's healthy right now, but we're not sure. But the problem is we haven't had an update really since like the end of November. And that was a pretty vague one. Like, that was like, it's not healing as quickly as I hoped it would. But that was 4 months ago at this point. So we don't know where he's at.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a fair point. And speaking of Muncy, he just went 102nd overall in round 9. Let's catch people up on what has happened. I was on the clock back in round 8. I took Yasmani Grandal. He is, one of those top 5 or 6 that I really would like to get a catcher this year as my first catcher. And then Jesse Winker and Justin Verlander go. And then starting round 9, we see Alek Manoah, Dylan Cease. I selected Joe Musgrove. So nice little starting pitcher run here in round 9. Mitch Haniger, Trevor Rogers, the aforementioned Max Muncy, and then Bobby Witt goes 103rd overall. For those wondering, yep, that's about the price you're going to have to pay for the top prospects in the game. Scotty, you are on the clock.
Yeah, I was looking at with there. Obviously can't take him. This is weird. It's been a weird draft, and so I'm going to do a weird thing. I'm going to take Chris Bryant, even though I already have a third baseman.
Weird.
I don't have an outfielder yet, so I'm drafting Chris Bryant like he's my top-ranked outfielder. You wouldn't think anybody'd ever draft Chris Bryant for the outfield, given the state of third base this year. But here I am doing it. So, yeah, Chris Bryant.
How does that make you feel?
Not good. Not good.
Yeah, that's your first outfielder, Scott. So
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Loaded up on the infield.
It's better to have him as my first outfielder than Austin Meadows. So
certainly, I agree with that.
I just wish somebody had left me like Mitch Haniger if I was going to fill an outfield spot anyway. I don't know. Somebody's going to be hurting the third base.
That is correct. All right. So after you selected Chris Bryant, Dan Schneider continues on with the Troll FBT team, selects Joey Votto, I believe the first of the profit pockets to be drafted so far in this draft. Then Anthony Rendon goes Luis Castillo, which caused a groan, a yelp.
Well, it was Votto, Rendon, Castillo were my top 3 players in my queue.
Oh, that is
so
brutal.
That run just killed me.
Brutal.
This is actually the appropriate point for Votto to go, as opposed to where he actually goes 30 picks later. And naturally, it was made by Dan Schneider. So.
It's the appropriate spot for Luis Castillo to go rather than like 20 spots earlier, like he usually does.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that is a good point. So Castillo goes 107th overall. His ADP is 75. Wow. All right. So, man, he's falling quite a bit here in this draft. And Chris is panicking. He is.
Yeah, I'm not in a good space emotionally or
man.
mentally.
You're gonna make me back out your picks, aren't you? Oh no.
Nope.
Okay.
Oof.
That was a reach.
Lourdes Gurriel.
A little bit of a reach, but I like him a lot. I think he's another really well-rounded player. So I'm okay with that one. Now I'm trying to figure out, do I fill that utility spot? That guy's really good.
I'm with you, Chris, by the way, on Lourdes Gurriel. Wrote him up in Breakouts 2.0. He was dealing with a knee injury last year, but final 4 months of the season, the numbers were much better. And if you take his 150 game average over the course of his career, he has averaged 27 home runs per 150 games. So if he does that with his career 282 batting average, I think he's a fine pick.
The problem is that's outfielder number 5.
Oh, man. Oh, geez. All right. Well, you can't select another one. Well, I guess you can for utility, but all right. Yeah.
So I've got 6 outfield eligible players on my team right now.
And then you select our boy, Willy Adames. Nice pick. I like it.
Yeah, again, another one that like probably would have preferred it 20 picks later, but there's definitely no way he's coming back to that point in this league. You guys were already talking about him in the last round, so I'll take the guy and we'll see.
Well, that's one infield spot that's filled satisfactorily. Is that a word? Satisfactorily? In a satisfactory way.
Let's look that up.
Yes.
It might as well be a word, right? Everybody knows what I mean.
Satisfactorily.
I think my three infielders are satisfactory so far.
It looks like it's a word. So yeah, I'm gonna give you a pass there, Scotty.
There you go.
That's fine. All right. And I've noticed, Scott only has one outfielder, and then in the chat, our buddy Brad Johnson writes, "Oh, that's why I only have one outfielder. That's because Chris has 5 of them so far." So hoarding the outfield
6.
Oh yeah,
because I have Whit Merrifield too.
Whit Merrifield too. Yeah, no, that's a good point. After you selected Willy Adames, we see Rhys Hoskins go. Love it. Profit pocket. Rejoice. Let's go. After Hoskins goes, Jared Kelenic and Shane McClanahan, 2 hype guys this year. 2 former top-ish prospects. No, not ish. Top prospects for sure. Some breakout potential there. And Scotty, you had 3 seconds left. You selected your first closer, Kenley Jansen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think you now have 5 pitchers to 5 hitters, right? Your first 10 picks?
Is that right? Yeah, I guess I only have 5 hitters. Okay. Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
I don't know. Not great. Not great. Like, I'm never excited to take a closer, unless it's like Dylan Floro in round 18 or something. Round
I
20.
guarantee you there was never another sentence on a podcast said where somebody was excited to select Dylan Floro.
How I want to approach closer is basically I want to be living in terror that I'm about to miss out on the last one, and then come through and take them before somebody else. Like, that's how I want it to play out at closer.
Man, I played chicken at closer, Scott. At my last pick, I was debating Kenley Jansen and Will Smith. You selected Kenley. One pick later, Jordan Romano goes, and I just started sweating right now. I was like, what? Am I actually going to get Will Smith? And I did. I pulled it off. So I am pretty excited to make that happen. My first closer of the draft.
Yeah, mini closer run here.
And
these closers have gone way earlier than this in these 15-team leagues. Like, I can live with Kenley Jansen at 113. I think that's fine. But, he might have gone 50 picks earlier in some of those industry leagues.
Yeah, let's see what else has happened. I mentioned the Kenley, Jordan Romano picks. Austin Meadows goes here in round 10. Pablo Lopez, Ryan Mountcastle. I selected Will Smith. I get my first closer. He is my fourth pitcher overall. I have Zach Wheeler. I have Walker Buehler, and I have Joe Musgrove as my first three starting pitchers. Then we see Jared Walsh go with pick 119. And Tim Canick is on the clock for 2 picks. And I should probably figure out what I want to do next.
I'm already at this point where most of my top remaining players are outfielders.
That's what I'm talking about, Chris.
I don't know, Chris.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the risk. That's the risk. But it's okay.
You know what? And I really don't. There's a lot of outfield talent left, but as I've mentioned on previous podcasts, I do think that there is a bit of a cliff. There's a teardrop in talent level, and it was basically, around where you took Lourdes Gurriel, Chris. Then we see Jared Kelenic, Austin Meadows. I only have 2 outfielders, so I think outfield and second base. I think I've got to do a better job on that in future drafts, but we'll see. I think I'm going to continue to wait on outfield. There's nobody that's really screaming out to me that I should be drafting here. I don't know. I don't know who I should draft in general, but I've got to figure it out because there's no time left. Tommy Edman goes, Giovanni Gallegos, and then Dansby Swanson, and I am back on the clock. I need a second baseman. Not really anyone that I want to draft there. Jake Cronenworth, TJ LeMahieu up at the top. Meh. I can use another outfielder, but again, nobody that I really love. Starting pitcher. Some interesting names there. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to select somebody from the profit pocket, and that is Josh Bell. So he will be my corner infielder. I've already got Pete Alonso. And I just like what he provides at this point in the draft. 270 hitter, 25 to 30 homers. I think he'll get, up over 90 RBI. Nationals lineup isn't great, but he's hitting behind Juan Soto, obviously, so that should help. And he was really good over the final, 4 or 5 months last year. And that's more of the player I'm expecting here in 2022. So I opt to fill my corner before second base or outfield. I don't know if that was the right decision. We shall see. After I selected Josh Bell, Tyler Mahle goes off the board, and Joey Gallo to Brad Johnson. How's the pitching looking, Brad? Let's check back in here. All right, he's got Logan Webb, Pablo Lopez, and Trevor Rogers. An interesting group. Upside, you need Pablo Lopez to stay healthy, of course. Joey Gallo, his second outfielder to go along with Starling Marte. He's already filled 2 catcher spots, 4 infield spots, right? Interesting build there. And let's see. Scotty, you're back on the clock. Shane Boswent and Chris Bassett. 2 more pitchers off the board. And what are you thinking? Do you have to get more offense here, Scotty? You muted yourself again. I think this is going to be our record performance for mutes during a podcast or live stream.
Sorry. Sigh of relief for me because I was thinking I had blown it with that Kenley Jansen pick. I noticed there was 2 of the profit pocket left at first base at the time. Josh Bell, who you took, Frank, and CJ Cron. I ignored them because I'm so used to having a first baseman already, but I don't have a first baseman yet. So I will get the last of the profit pocket here, CJ Cron, as my first baseman, in the hopes that the Coors effect bolsters his numbers for a second straight season. And frankly, I think he could potentially do even better than he did last year there. And last year he hit 281 with 28 homers, 92 RBI.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we need to see a little bit more consistency. He was awesome for the final 2 months of the season. Before that, he was okay. You know, he was like a mid 700s to an 800 OPS bat those first 3 or 4 months. But man, if he can carry over some of what we saw down the stretch, then we could see 280, 30 plus homers from CJ Cron. I think that's possible. Nelson Cruz, 129th overall. Don't forget about the old man, the vet. Nelson
I couldn't
Cruz.
take him. I might have taken him, but I couldn't.
Yeah, that's right. You got
Shohei
Ohtani
coming home to roost.
He was at the top of my queue.
Right.
Even though it would dramatically limit my flexibility at this point, it's just the value's too good.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, Chris, like, are you sure you want him? He doesn't play outfield anymore.
He probably played he's probably played an inning there in the last couple of years, right?
I think he played more first base last year than he did outfield. Yeah. And that's probably for the best, honestly.
I think so.
I've got to move Nelson Cruz up my overall ranks because honestly, if I remembered he was there, I might have selected him over Josh Bell myself. I think it's a close call, but yeah.
I like the Blake Snell pick after him too. I had been that's a pick I would have made probably 2 rounds ago if I was sitting on 2 starting pitchers instead of the 4 I actually have. I think the potential for him to have an ace caliber season is greater than for, some of the like Shane McClanahans and Alek Manoahs that have gone already. But he is, there's more downside for Snell too, I would say.
Scott, hold on. Did somebody say Shane McClanahan?
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Money talk, Scott. I don't know. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Blake Snell versus Shane O'Mac, but we'll see this year. Blake Snell, by the way, the ADP is 106. He lasts to pick 130 here. So much like Luis Castillo, lasting a little bit later than we're used to seeing. After Jake Cronenworth goes, Chris, you do select a util-only bat, and that is Franmil Reyes. Might actually earn outfield eligibility throughout the course of the season. And you grab Eduardo Rodriguez. Is he your SP2, SP3?
SP2, yeah. I'm going light on SP, so I'm going to have to hit it pretty hard here. But, yeah, Franmil Reyes just, like Nelson Cruz, I just think the value's too good at 130th overall. That's a pretty safe bet for, really 35 homers if he plays 130 games, 140 games, a ton of RBI. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty well set in offense. I might need to take one stolen base guy at some point down the stretch, but otherwise I think I can pretty much focus on pitching moving forward because I think I've got a pretty good base across the board now. And, that'll happen when 9 of your first 12 picks are hitters.
All right. The rest of round 12, what else is going on? After you selected Erod, Wilson Contreras, Zach Gallen, and Chris Taylor. Guess I won't be using him at second base. Scott, you are back up, and you have 6 hitters and 5 pitchers to this point. Which way are you leaning now? Did he do it again? He did it again.
He did it again. I did the opposite a little while ago where I thought I wasn't muted, so I hit the mute button and then coughed, and I had been muted. So I apologize for that one.
You could give me a more subtle cue than that. You don't have to. Anyway, I'm in
Scott, you're muted.
Yeah. Ranger Suarez. So, and now Marcell Ozuna goes. I may be playing to ADP a little too much because there are a number of hitters I like and expect to get that it's not quite time to get. And you can get burned doing that, especially if you need something as badly as I need outfielders right now.
Scott, what's the favorite sound drop that I have that I play? Because next time you're muted, I'll play one of those sound drops. So that'll be
That's not exactly subtle either, Frank.
I'll give you. Oh man, I should have played this for Josh Bell. I'll play that next time you're muted, Scott.
Yeah, okay.
And nobody will know what's going on. So
yeah.
It's totally fine. All right. So you select Ranger Suarez. You have 6 hitters and 6 pitchers through your first 12 rounds. Only one outfielder, as you begrudgingly watched Marcell Ozuna get drafted there. And then Josh Donaldson, and then Carlos Rodon, and then Justin Turner. Okay. What do I need? Another outfielder would definitely help. I need a second baseman. Is it time to draft Gene Segura or Colton Wong yet? It is not time to draft either of those guys. So I will continue my search, and the top of the outfield rankings right now is not looking too hot. There was a pitcher that I saw that I like, and I think that's who I'm going to draft. It is my man, Sean Manaea. Haven't thought of a fun nickname yet for Sean Manaea, but he's the guy. He is my SP4. I like the velo jump from last year. The underlying numbers were much better for Sean Manaea. Lower that sinker usage a little bit, man. I think the secondary stuff is good. And I think that there's a chance that we see a mid-3s ERA with a strikeout per inning, and that would be awesome to get from my SP4 here in round 12. All right, DJ LeMahieu goes off the board. I will not be drafting him as my second baseman. I didn't really want him anyway, so there. Take that. Clayton Kershaw goes to finish out round 12. And that is a perfect time to, on the podcast side, we are going to end hour 1 here on the podcast, but keep your eyes and your ears open for hour 2 of the podcast if you want to see how the rest of this draft plays out. But we're going to wrap this one up, and we will catch you on part 2. Bye-bye. All right, we're going to continue things here with the YouTube stream, and hour 2 of the podcast. We are in round 13, and we will catch people up. The end of round 12 was Clayton Kershaw, and the first pick of round 13 was Jorge Solaire.
Somebody another one
I probably could have used. I know Scott could have used as well.
Yep.
And
yep. I'm counting. I'm over relying on ADP here instead of just taking what I need, which is especially bad approach this late. It's not quite late in the draft. It's right like the midpoint of the draft, but in the back half of the draft, that's probably not the best way to approach things.
Brian Hayes goes with pick 146, and I need an outfielder. What kind of stats do I need? I got a little speed. Probably could use a little bit more speed. Batting average, kind of middling. Could use a lot of everything. So I'm going to go with a player that I think provides a little of everything, maybe not a lot of everything. And I will select Eddie Rosario. I believe this is well ahead of ADP, but I do think that he is criminally undervalued right now because he has not signed with a team yet. And I think wherever he winds up, he's going to hit 260, 25-ish home runs, 6 to 8 steals, something like that. Could be a DH in the National League. I think that would suit Eddie Rosario quite well. And yeah, I still like him quite a bit. I know he got off to a real slow start last year. He was hurt, but obviously his time with the Braves was fantastic. He looked really good in the postseason. So I'm back in. I am in on Eddie Rosario. All right. After he goes, Keibert Ruiz, another catcher here. Off the board, Trent Grisham. He was also atop of the outfield rankings. I did need a little bit of speed, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of Trent Grisham. I'm a little bit worried. So I'll let our buddy Brad Johnson wind up with him. And then Framber Valdez goes. Scotty, you are on the clock. Are you looking at outfield yourself?
Maybe. Yeah, I'm considering a couple things here. There's, of course... Oh, I wasn't quite on the clock yet. Okay. So I just got sniped. Or at least I had the options narrowed down by Mike Gianella, who took Brendan Rodgers, who of course I love this year, and he was the last middle infielder I could be genuinely excited to draft. So I will turn my attention to the outfield. And this guy's still there? Yes, he is still there. All right. Prepare to groan, everybody.
Uh-oh.
I'm taking a fantasy baseball today favorite. He goes by the name of Joe Adell.
I was hoping it was going to be Connor Joe. That would have been better for me, personally.
That's true.
No,
it would have been way too early for Connor Joe, but Joe Adell, yeah, a lot of upside, potential for speed.
Early really relative to ADP.
Yeah, I didn't even take him that early relative to ADP, right?
No, it is early relative.
It is early. Okay.
Yeah, I believe the ADP 229. So
I knew he wasn't going to last there with this group.
No one's counting, Scott, but just 80 picks.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, no. Look,
what did I just finish saying? I mean, you can't be too fixated on ADP, and like I said, one of you guys was going to take him soon. I'm fairly confident. So yeah, and it's nice to get a little more. I haven't really taken any speed since Ohtani, which is kind of my MO this year. But Odell's upside is such that I don't feel like I'm reaching for the speed, which is really the goal of the 0 SB strategy.
Man, if everything clicks for Joe Adell, I think we can get a 260, 270, 25 homers, 15 to 20 steals. He's got all the tools. He's just got to put it together, man, and stay healthy. So would be awesome to see. After Joe Adell goes, we see Craig Kimbrell, who is, I believe, very likely to be traded once the lockout ends. And then Sonny Gray and Lance McCullers. I should point out that the longer the season is delayed, that obviously helps currently injured or injury-prone players. So I think Lance McCullers would fit that mold. Max Muncy, who we mentioned earlier, Jacob deGrom, Adalberto Mondesi. I think it helps those players as well.
I don't know. For me, I don't know that it makes a difference for deGrom, McCullers, or Muncy, because
the question isn't necessarily are they healthy for opening day so much as it is can they get through the season,
or really for those three, are they broken? Like, have they been fixed yet? Like,
sure.
It's not, their injuries aren't necessarily the kind that are going to be resolved by time.
Mm-hmm. My thinking, Scott, is say we wind up with like a 5-month season. That's just a smaller portion that Jacob deGrom has to stay healthy for, smaller than we were expecting. So
yeah. No, I understand that perspective, but I think a big part of the risk for deGrom is just he shows up to camp and he's shut down a week later.
Yeah.
Would not surprise me one bit. Chris, at the turn here, you double tap starting pitcher, which obviously you need to do at this point, and you select one, I would say, upside guy in Patrick Sandoval, and then one floor guy with Nathan Eovaldi. But I think the combination makes sense. You just cross your fingers. You need both to stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit of risk in this pitching staff, which is obviously going to happen when you take one starting pitcher in your first, I think, 6 picks. Morton's old. Nathan Eovaldi has an up and down track record. Eduardo Rodriguez, same. Patrick Sandoval, injuries and an up and down track record. But I like the group that I'm putting together in terms of their kind of comparable qualities. Like there are a couple of guys who I do think Charlie Morton is relatively safe. I know the age gives him risk, but otherwise I don't think there's that much there. Eovaldi, solid contributor if risk is there with injury, and then Sandoval and Rodriguez, I think those guys have that like 200 plus strikeout upside as well.
Hey, I'm there with you on Erod and Patrick Sandoval. I think Eovaldi's fine too at this point in the draft, as an SP4 and SP5, plays on a good team. Just has to stay healthy, which he did last year, and he pitched really well. After you selected Nathan Eovaldi, we see Ian Anderson off the board, Ty France, and Adam Wainwright. Now, no matter what you say, Dan, in the chat, I believe that you took that pick because you didn't want Scott to have him. So
I could tell it's going to be annoying to draft with Dan Schneier. This is the first mock he's done with us this year, and he wants to do like basically all of them going forward.
Nice.
So I'm going to get tired of that real quick.
Especially he's drafting right next to you, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, fortunately,
sick of your crap, Dan.
In this particular draft, I already have 5 starting pitchers, so I wasn't thinking about Adam Wainwright. But yeah, that's obviously normally one of my favorite pitchers to draft. I'm going to take another one of my favorite outfielders here, Hunter Renfro. A little ahead of ADP, but not that much ahead of ADP. Actually, 1 spot ahead of ADP, and I rank him even higher than this. He was the number 19 outfielder in this format last year, and I don't think he did anything that he can't do again.
Yeah, I question the batting average a little bit. I think he hit around 260. That's been much lower in his career.
He only struck out 22% of the time, which
that was a huge part of it. So.
If he does that, he can hit for a 260 average again.
Yep. If you buy the gains that he made in contact last year, Hunter Renfro could be an absolute steal at his ADP right now, and currently projected to hit cleanup in the Brewers lineup. And if Christian Yelich bounces back, anywhere close to what he's been, Hunter Renfro right behind him, Willy Adames and Colton Wong, lots of RBI opportunities for Hunter Renfro. So I'm a fan. I like him as well.
Oh, really? I heard you say that.
Yeah.
What might you say then if I were to say, I think Hunter Renfro is a great pick here?
I think I would say, I'm with you, Scott.
Yeah.
I thought Scott was going for a Dave Matthews Band thing there.
Oh, no.
He went to college in Athens. I feel like that was a thing, right? That he was going for like a, what would you say?
You give me way too much credit.
I mean, Dave. Come on.
Chris, are you a Dave Matthews Band guy? I mean, I know you like every band, but is that is that one of your bands?
No. I have seen them live several times, but
You've seen them live several times.
I'm on the clock.
But not the biggest fan. Like, they play a lot of music festivals and stuff.
What was that Dave Matthews song that they were always playing on Community?
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, that one. What is that song called?
Ants Marching.
I think it's exactly that. Like, whatever Chris just said, that's the name of the song. I'm pretty sure. Look, I'm a fan of all different kinds of music genres, but Dave Matthews Band is just one that I could not get behind. It is. Look, no disrespect to anyone who messes around with Dave Matthews Band and they like him, but not for me. I can't do it. I selected Robbie Grossman. I was kind of
Frank, that's one of my guys. Come on, man.
It was kind of a panic pick. I don't know. I was messing around with you guys, and then I realized there was 20 seconds left on the clock, and I'm like, oh crap, I need an outfielder. So I selected the top name, and I wound up with Robbie Grossman. I will say, I think I need some batting average on this team. I got Grandal. I've got Jose Ramirez. Ramirez is fine, 260, but Robbie Grossman, Lindor is probably like a 250, 260 guy.
So you're not even. I hate when people take somebody from you and they don't even appreciate that someone like you do.
Well, Scott, you distracted me so that I wouldn't take him. That's why you were trying to get me to say the whole.
I know. It backfired.
It didn't work. But let's catch people up on the picks. After you selected Hunter Renfro. Wow, there was a lot. Rizzo, Alex Verdugo, Dylan Carlson, Luis Garcia. I selected Grossman, then Avisael Garcia, Luis Severino, Trevor Bauer, and Michael Brantley. And now we are in round 15. Is it time yet to select a second baseman? No, I don't think so. I'm sure someone's going to troll me and try to steal my guys at some point, but that point is not now. Let's see who's available amongst the pitchers. Ooh, that's a fun name up top. Could use a closer. Decisions. I am going to select Mark Melancon. But I don't feel good about it.
No, you can't.
I wanted Logan Gilbert. Oh, geez. Man, yeah, Logan Gilbert would have been my SP5. But instead, I've got 4 starting pitchers so far. I probably don't need Logan Gilbert because I've got Wheeler, I've got Bueller, I got Musgrove. I feel really good about that top 3. So I've got Will Smith as my first closer. Now I get Mark Melancon as my second. I think eventually the wheels are going to fall off for Mark Melancon. I don't know when it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen this year. But if he stays healthy and on track, you're probably getting solid ratios, not a lot of strikeouts, and I don't know, 25 saves, hopefully, with the Diamondbacks. It's not a great situation. After Mark Melancon goes Scott Barlow. Logan Gilbert. Jeez. Hurts my heart. And then Corey Knebel. So closers are starting to go here. Relief pitchers flying off the board.
True that.
Were you considering any relief pitchers, closers, Scotty? I know you're on deck.
Oh, yeah, I am. Now Scott Barlow just went to Scott Engel. So Scott White has to start rethinking things here.
That's right.
Scott's not that popular of a name anymore. You know that?
You don't see a lot of Scotts anymore.
Yeah, our generation they look at that name and they're like, not for me. Not for me.
I think they were all taken up from like the 60s to, 90s. Those were all Scotts, and now they're gone.
I think it's Scott Stapp's fault.
I'm going to take another popular name from the 80s. Alex Kiriloff.
Is that a popular name from the 80s?
Well, there was
Michael J. Fox played a famous Alex on the
P. Keaton.
Family Ties. Yeah.
There was Alex Gonzalez, Chicago White Sox starting pitcher.
There was another closer that went too, by the way, Blake Trinan. So this is the round. Round 15, lots of closers flying now.
Yeah. If I wasn't making a name joke, I probably would have taken a closer. I got a little distracted by the name play, but that's fine. That's fine. I already got Kenley Jansen in the bag. I'll be okay. Alex Kiriloff has big breakout potential. I'm actually much more confident in a breakout for him than I am for Adele. He obviously doesn't bring the speed element Adele does, but I think he could be like a plus source of batting average while also providing good power. So I'm happy to take him here in round 15, especially since outfield. Well, suddenly I have 4 outfielders, so it's becoming a less glaring need for me.
Mm-hmm. And Alex Kiriloff coming back from wrist surgery. So I do wonder if maybe he gets off to a slow start this year, but something he was dealing with for years, dating back to the minors. So I'm actually happy long-term that Kiriloff had that surgery, and I think it's going to work out well for him. I agree, Scott. I think eventually when he gets going, you could see big batting average, 280 plus, 25 plus home runs when Alex Kiriloff is at his peak. Maybe even better than that, honestly. After Kiriloff goes Luke Voit. Sorry, Chris, no Luke Voit for you. And then Tyler Stevenson and Adolis Garcia. And you are on the clock. Are you going back to pitching? No, I'm not going to say it. Instead,
I'm going to take an upsized shot.
That's your mute button.
There's my upside shot with Mike Clevenger. Delayed season could be useful for him, so we'll see on that. I could use a catcher, so what I'm going to do is take Mitch Garver, who's been my go-to fallback catcher. He's my first catcher, so not going to be a strength for me, but he can at least help avoid making it a weakness.
It could be. I mean, he could be a top 5 catcher.
But him by himself can't make it a strength for me.
Well,
given that I'm going to be picking from.
How good is any second catcher going to be? Like if you have a good second catcher, it probably wasn't worth the trade-off, whatever that trade-off was.
Yeah, that's probably true. Unless you just like Salvador Perez and Will Smith are kind of the only two who could be worth it.
Love the pick by RJ White. Taylor Rogers, so another closer off the board, and someone I'm pretty excited about. The numbers were fantastic from last year. Best strikeout stuff we've ever seen from Rogers, and he has the track record. He actually has done it under this coaching staff with Rocco Baldelli. He did it back in 2019, had 30 saves, and I trust him. I think Taylor Rogers is going to be pretty damn good. Let's see. What else happened? Adolis Garcia went at the end of round 15. Chris, you selected Clevenger and Garver, as you mentioned, Taylor Rogers, and then Yoan Moncada goes here in round 16.
Yeah, he was the other one I was thinking of if I didn't take Mitch Garver. It was going to be Moncada or Garver. So I'm a little disappointed. I think he was kind of like the last third baseman you can feel okay about.
All right.
Schneider.
In case you're wondering what just happened, Camilo Doval goes to Dan Schneider, and man, rounds 15 and 16 have just been loaded with relief pitchers and closers. Now,
I mean, this is the range where you need to take advantage. And
right.
Camilo Doval was the closer I was saying I probably should have taken with my last pick, and I almost got him anyway. Darn it. Yeah, what am I going to do here? So there are a couple of really big power bats left that I like. And in terms of where they normally go, this guy should be gone already. So it's my third baseman. I don't know what everybody's doing about third base. Matt Chapman.
Chappie. I was looking at him. I could use some power
that
too.
Was the other third baseman I was hoping for. Thanks, Scott.
Blame Dan.
Oh yeah, Chris, you don't have a third baseman. Jeez. Wow. Yeah. Well,
Eduardo Escobar, baby. Honestly, you could do worse. I was after our latest Nolan Arenado debate, I had the opportunity to take him in round 6 of TGFBI 15-team league. So you know, good value, you would think, for somebody who wants Arenado. But I was comparing his and Eduardo Escobar's 2021 numbers side by side, and they're not that different. I mean, Arenado hits 6 more home runs, but you know, we've seen Eduardo Escobar hit over 30 before, and there's no guarantee Arenado hits exactly 34 again. He could slump to 31, 30. I don't know. Got me thinking. Got the old wheels a turning again.
Jeez, man. There was just a run of power bats, and I wanted one of them here. Eugenio Suarez went, Matt Chapman goes, and I am left scrambling. I'm gonna take Luis Arias as my starting second baseman. Forget you, Colton Wong. Forget Eugene Segura. I'll take my guy.
Should have taken Eduardo Escobar.
No. No, we can't do that, Scott. Come on. I already have 2 Mets. I already have 2 Mets on my team. It's like, how much bad juju do you want to put on one mock draft team, Scott? You can't have more than 2.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. So
Dan says he's not trolling you, by the way.
yes, we all believe you, Dan, for the 3rd time in the draft. Gary Sanchez goes. Let's see who else went in this round. So we are in round 16. After Scott selected Matt Chapman, we see Hyunjin Ryu, Michael Conforto, Eugenio Suarez, Akil Baddoo. I selected Luis Arias, who has second, third, and shortstop eligibility. Big second half for Arias last year. He'll be the starting third baseman for the Brewers. And I'm a fan. Big prospect pedigree finally came through. I think he can, hit 270, 20-plus homers, 6 to 8 steals. I think the counting stat should be good too. And I think he's going to be good in a points league too. I think that's an undervalued part of his game. Really strong walk rate from Luis Arias last year. Gary Sanchez and Brandon Belt to finish out round 16. And Joe Ryan with the first pick of round 17. And Dave Mendelson says, ugh, sniped. Poor guy. All right, so let's see what we got. Catcher. This position stinks. Not going to select any of those. There is a pitcher here that I like. What about outfield? I think I have 4 of those now. Yeah, I've got 4 outfielders. A few names here that I do like. Nobody's screaming out that I need to select them right now.
That's good. It's usually good when nobody's screaming.
All right, so I am going to go back to pitcher, and I'm going to select Marcus Strowman, who is now with the Chicago Cubs. I think he's solid, safe floor kind of pitcher, stabilizer, strong ratios. The whip will be a little bit high, but good ERA. I think if he can maintain his swinging strike rate from last year, we could see a few more strikeouts from Marcus Stroman as well. He'll get to face the Pirates. Hopefully none of those series get canceled because I need all the Pirates starts that I can get from my NL Central starting pitchers. But I do like Marcus Stroman as an SP5 or an SP6 type.
You know what? You know who hasn't been taken yet, and it's kind of freaking me out?
Is it Gleyber Torres who just went right now?
No.
Gleyber Torres, best shape of his life alert, by the way. We got on Tuesday afternoon. Apparently he's slimmed down and he's looking great. We'll see if it helps.
It's Miles Straw. I don't want to take Miles Straw, but I don't have many steals, and it's really weird that he hasn't been taken yet.
I think many people don't want to select Miles Straw, but in the right build, Scott, if you need steals, then it makes sense.
Here's the thing. I got one outfield spot left, so you know what I'm actually going to do? Since Dylan Floro, my ultimate late round save source, got taken this round, and I already missed out on Camilo Doval, and I only have the one closer, Kenley Jansen. I'm going to take Joe Barlow. It's not very exciting, but I feel like it's my last chance at somebody who I'm confident is going to begin the year in the closer role. Not confident he keeps it, but, you know. For round 17 closer, you can only ask so much. So Joe Barlow is my pick.
That is correct. All right, Joey B off the board. The Rangers are a team because they've made so many moves this offseason. They've made a lot of splashes. They signed Seager. They signed Marcus Semien. It wouldn't surprise me if they try to sign a closer type or trade for a Craig Kimbrell.
It wouldn't be the most shocking thing. I agree, but I'm not. You know,
what would be the most shocking thing?
The Pirates signing Kenley Jansen. I don't know.
Let's say, you know, the players and the owners came to an agreement. That'd be pretty shocking.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
What else has gone on this round? After I selected Marcus Stroman earlier, Anthony DeSclafani, nice pick to the King. Then Brandon Crawford, Gleyber Torres, Jose Urquidy, Joe Barlow, and Thor. Noah
Syndergaard's a good pick.
Yeah, this is pretty late. 201.
Yeah.
201 for Noah Syndergaard.
Dan Schneier. Yeah. The Akil Baddoo, I wanted to mention the Akil Baddoo pick, 189 overall. I was doing a little side-by-side comparison, Baddoo and Randy Arozarena. And see a lot of similarities there.
I believe that was one of the generic versus brand name.
Oh, absolutely was.
So I'm not the first to notice this. Yes. I mean, neither of us like Arozarena. It's worth pointing out. We both have him as a bust this year. So I'm not especially high on Baddoo. It's less about that, but
it's definitely a why take Arozarena when Baddoo is there.
So I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't notice Baddoo was there, I guess.
Baddoo's a fun player too, man. He's one of these guys where you look at the StatCast, the max EV is there, the sprint speed is there. He's got talent. You saw last year he struggled with strikeouts early, but then made adjustments.
Strikeouts.
Yes, and the plate discipline was much better. What did I say?
You said strikeouts.
Strikeouts? Is that what I said?
Strikeouts. Didn't he?
I don't know. Maybe I did.
There's no need to be a jerk, Scott. Gosh.
It's fine.
It's funny. I'm just trying to imagine what a strikeout is, okay?
Akil Baddoo, with all that, I think that he is a very interesting player. There was an awesome picture of him looking jacked up in the offseason, if you're into that kind of thing as well. Chris is struggling right now. He selected Joey Bart with one of his picks. And
I had one of those moments where the queue didn't update, and so I thought Mark Melancon was still there and I could get another source of saves, and then I clicked on it. Wow. And he'd been gone for like 2 rounds, right?
You're not paying attention to my team? Come on, Chris.
So that was a source of frustration. So I took Joey Bart and was probably 4 rounds earlier than I needed to because I panicked and I didn't know where to go, and he was in my queue. Oh, these things can go sideways on you, folks. That's the thing to remember.
Yeah, I mean, an hour and a half into a mock draft, I mean, people start to tilt a little bit at this point.
All right, whatever.
All right.
Well, and I was going to take Michael Kopech, and he got taken 2 picks before me. So
Yeah, lots of upside
And then
features going in this
RJ
range.
made a very good pick with Lucas Sims right before me too. That whole thing was very upset.
Lucas Sims, I like him, but the sleeper in that bullpen, Art Warren. Remember the name. Big fan, Art Warren. 19% swinging strike rate last year. After Noah Syndergaard went, Michael Kopech, Lucas Sims, Chris selected both Joey Bart and Alex Cobb. So I think fantastic pick. Obviously, we're all in. We're all in on the Cobb this year and hoping that he can be the best version of himself with the San Francisco Giants. After he goes, Ryan McMahon, Gavin Lux go. And Scott, you are on deck.
Yep.
Do you have any idea what you're trying to do here?
Oh, you know what? I need to help out our buddy Dan Schneier. He's getting a ton of mentions here.
Yes, do that.
Move Chris Taylor to the middle infield spot for him so that he can take Miles Straw and in the
slide.
And the slide, yeah.
In the slide. I'll go ahead and give it to him. And I'm not sure if he's watching us on YouTube or not, but he's trying to communicate with me. Oh, there he goes. He got it. Alrighty.
And that brings us to you, Scott. What do we got?
That brings us to me, doesn't it? Well, I was kind of wanting Straw to go. I was kind of urging him to go because who do I say is like Straw, only better? Nicky Lopez. Now, usually he goes a lot later than Straw, but Straw went so late that I'm going to go ahead and take Lopez here. And the reason I didn't just take Straw over Lopez, a lot of times I would have. Straw projects for more steals, I'd say, but Lopez projects for a lot himself and is a better source of batting average. But he just, like I said, I had one outfield spot left. I'd rather fill my middle infield spot because there are a lot more outfielders I'm excited about than middle infielders at this point. So I'll take Nicky Lopez for some late round steals.
Alrighty, yes, and the Royals do value his defense quite a bit. So if you're worried about playing time or a logjam, I think you should be worried about it at some point for some of those fringy Royals players. But I don't think you should worry about it for Nicky Lopez. That's the point that I was getting at, Scott.
There you go. It's like a 4-win player last year.
No, yeah, like his defense is that good. So I think they want him in there, provide a little batting average, some speed, of course, going this late in your draft. And it is round 18. Let's see. What do I need? I need a second catcher. I need a middle infielder. I need an outfielder. I need some homers. Where am I going to get the homers, Scott? I don't know. This is what you're talking about, right? I need some home runs. And I don't see any. Eduardo Escobar. We mentioned his name a few times already. But I don't really want Eduardo Escobar on my team. It's just not the fun pick, you know? But do I need a fun pick? Probably not.
I don't know.
There are a few like old outfielders here that are, but they're not going to give pop. I think I got it. I think I got the pick. I just saw a name. Some stuff is going on in my head right now. The light bulb's going off. I'm getting excited. But what else? What else has happened after you selected Nicky Lopez? Lou Trevino, who I think will be the closer to start the year.
Yeah.
I've read an article recently from The Athletic where they pointed out AJ Puck could get an opportunity to close. Of course, he's a lefty. He's probably better suited in the bullpen at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Throws hard, gets a lot of strikeouts. So I think it's interesting. But yeah, it might be kind of one of these wide open situations in Oakland to start the year. After Trevino goes, we see Trey Mancini, little boom boom, David Bednar, and then Adley Rutschman goes to Scott Engel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I moved Adley Rutschman up in my rankings, but apparently not. I think this is later than we normally see him go, and I think it's probably worth the gamble at this point.
All right. Well, it's just too late for this guy. I don't have a middle infielder yet. I'm going to select Colton Wong. And if Luis Arias fails, then I have a solid insurance plan here with my guy, Colton Wong. I think a 15-15 candidate. If he stays healthy, solid walk rate, good on base percentage, I think he could score 90+ runs for the Brewers. I like his skill set quite a bit.
Yeah, apparently. Keep drafting him.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep missing out on all these second basemen. So, and then Kyle Hendricks goes. So I don't even think you need pitching anymore, Scott. So probably
I have 2 pitching spots available.
Okay.
We're not drafting benches in this particular mock, so.
Oh, thankfully.
So yeah, I don't need to overdo it at pitcher, but this is normally the part of the like in a draft where I went less pitcher heavy. This would normally be the range where I'm looking at that old forgotten trio of Kyle Hendricks, Zach Greinke, and Carlos Carrasco. I may still end up taking.
All right. To end round 18, we see Kyle Lewis go off the board, and I see a comment in the chat here. Thought I was the only Lewis believer left. I like the skill set for Kyle Lewis. And look, it's late enough where you could take the shot on him, but these knee injuries have been recurring for him, and they've been pretty serious. He had knee surgery last year, so I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he can get back on his feet, but yeah, he still has some power, a little bit of speed there as well. But let's see, what else do we got? Frank Schwindel goes at the start of round 19, and then Tanner Houck. I am on the clock, and I need some pop. And I saw a name. Where is he? Where are you?
Don't do it.
There he is.
Okay.
Jesus Sanchez from the Miami Marlins. Wrote him up. Breakouts 2.0. And big pop last year, especially when he returned from the COVID list. He's had big pop in the minors. And, man, he's one of these guys that hits the ball so hard and so far that even though he plays in Marlins Park, I don't think that's going to affect his power. So if everything works out for him, I think he can hit, 250, 260, 30-plus homers. Again, that is Jesus Sanchez. And he hit lefties well as a left-handed batter. So I do like to see that as well. After I took Jesus Sanchez, Tristan McKenzie and Gregory Soto go off the board. And Tony Gonsolin as well. I really like that pick. I know you like it as well, Scotty.
I do like Tony Gonsolin. I just don't have enough pitcher spots to fill. So
yeah,
I'm okay letting these favorites of mine go to other people and focusing on my lineup for now. I'm debating whether it's worth dipping into catcher at this point. Still have 2 spots open. And there are about 5 that I think stand out from the rest, not in a major way, obviously, but enough that in round 19, it might be worth jumping ahead in line for the catchers. It's my turn to pick, so I guess I have to make that determination for good here. I am going to not take a catcher because instead I'm going to take an outfielder. I'm going to take the outfielder who led the NL in RBI last year. I'm going to take Adam Duvall.
Oof. You know what? If I was looking for pop, that guy probably made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to take him. Led the NL in RBI, hit 38 home runs. He's going to drain your batting average, but whatever. I mean, it's round 19. Who isn't going to drain your batting average at this point?
Good point.
So, as somebody who is more than anything else is most interested in not selling the power category short. Duvall's somebody I like targeting in this range. And I am worried that I underdid it a little in the power categories in this particular draft because I drafted so many pitchers early. So, yeah, I think it was important that I drafted him here.
All righty. Well, let's see what else is going on in the draft after Tony Gonsolin went. Ahmed Rosario. I like the value on him if you need some batting average and some speed late, 15 to 20 steals. I think that's certainly doable. Scotty selects Adam Duvall. Then Dan Schneier selects Carlos Carrasco. So another pick that we are fans of here. Andrew Vaughn, Ian Happ, and Chris, you go with Yuli Gurriel, and you got your third baseman, Eduardo Escobar.
Yeah,
Eduardo Escobar is just kind of solid. But, Scott, you did say how many players aren't going to hurt your batting average. Well, Yuli Gurriel's one in this range who won't. I was surprised he was still there. So happy to end up with him.
Make sure Chris is all right there. You good, Chris?
I'm dying. I might have to tap out here for the rest of the stream because, this is – oh, man. I basically, have not been able to sleep the last 3 nights. I've been, there's been, a 3-hour stretch every night since like Friday night where I've been like just coughing in my sleep, and it's been really miserable and it's ruining my life. And the cough medicine I took about 20 minutes before the show started clearly isn't working. So I'm going to log off, guys. I'm sorry.
All good, Chris. Get out of here. We'll take a look at your team by the end of this podcast. Good stuff as always. He selects Louis Gurriel. Before I get into round
Goodbye,
20,
friends.
it's all good. See you later, Chris. We love you too. Before I get into round 20, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. All right, so let's start with round 20 here, and Eduardo Escobar goes to Chris. Andrew Kittredge, who is the likely leading closer candidate for the Tampa Bay Rays, though, they're probably going to mix it up a little bit.
Right.
But
to whatever extent they have one.
He was good. He was really good last year.
Yeah. No, I think he's perfectly fine pick here. I think you could make the case for him over somebody like Joe Barlow, who I took a couple rounds ago, but I just want to try and get as many saves as I can for however long those saves are available to me.
I hear you. After Kittredge went, Andrew Benintendi goes. I really like the value on Benintendi too. He's not flashy, but solid batting average, 20 homers, 10 steals. In that lineup too, like the Royals should be much more improved. So the counting stats, they might actually be pretty damn good for Andrew Benintendi. Dan continues on with his Scott White troll tour, and he selects Zach Greinke 1 round after selecting Carlos Carrasco. And Scotty
does.
Back up.
So those 3 old pitchers, those 3 old forgotten aces are gone now, and I am out of hitter spots to fill, apart from catcher. So I think I am going to try fill it. I'm probably going to fill my 2 pitcher spots here before I go for a catcher. I think Aaron Tavale is a lot like that old trio. I don't think he has like top 25 upside the way Hendricks and Greinke may still, but should work deep in the game, should have a low whip. The strikeout total should be better than the rates because of how deep he works into games. And I think he will do more good than harm for me, which is really all you can ask from a starting pitcher in this range, right? You just don't hurt me.
Baby, don't hurt me. That's Scott tonight to Aaron Tavale.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's fine. Like, again, he was, some people were drafting him. I was one of those people as a top 40 starting pitcher last year, and now he's going outside the top 60 a lot of the times at starting pitcher.
And he was pretty good. I don't really... I gather people were expecting this big step forward for him, and it didn't happen, but that's fine. I mean, he's fine.
He is fine indeed. After you selected Aaron Tavale, AJ Pollock goes off the board. Big fan of that pick. He was really good last year. Just has to stay on the field, and I think the DH in the National League should help AJ Pollock do exactly that. Miguel Sano, Jake McGee, Jonathan Scope, and then I selected Alex Wood, the last of the Giants starting pitchers that, as you know by now, I want to wind up with at least one Giants pitcher on my pitching staff in every draft that I do, if I can. So Wood was the last one available out of DeSclafani and Alex Cobb, and he was really good last year for the Giants. Surprise, surprise, they do a great job with really all their players, their pitchers, their hitters, and Alex Wood was no exception to that. He's got to stay on the mound. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, but when he is on the mound, I think he'll be really good. After Alex Wood goes Jesus Aguilar, and a double tap of Tigers prospects at the round 20 and 21 turn with Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green. Scott, I mean, we're at that point where you can't really criticize any pick, Scott. Is this the right range where you should start to take some shots on upside prospects? Do you think that makes sense with the Tigers guys here?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a high priority for me, but I don't think really any pick is wrong at this stage of the draft. And, particularly, like, I don't approach this draft like we're drafting for a league where there are no benches, even though we're not drafting benches. It's just because we're trying to not have the mock take too long, so we only draft starting lineups, but we're not drafting for a league without benches, so it's okay to draft guys anticipating you wouldn't really draft them as starters, I think.
I think
because obviously Torkelson and Green aren't going to be up right away.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll see what happens with the CBA. I mean, maybe they'll be. I was listening today to Rob Manfred's press conference, and he talked about how they were incentivizing teams calling up their prospects for opening day. So I'm intrigued to see that part of the CBA and if teams actually do that. So time will tell there.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know what he was referring to. I mean, obviously, it's possible not everything that's been discussed has been leaked to the media. But yeah, that raised an eyebrow for me too, because are you sure you're doing that? Because I haven't really heard anything along those lines.
That would be awesome though. Yeah. Like, hey, if the teams are, if there is incentive for a team to call up a Spencer Torkelson on opening day, if they think he's ready, of course, why wouldn't they do it? I mean, we saw it with the Mets a couple of years ago. I mean, I guess their incentive was like, hey, we want to put the best team out there. And they did it with Pete Alonso, and he rewarded them by having a fantastic rookie season. Not that every rookie's going to do that, obviously, but man, a lot of these guys are capable, and we want to see them sooner rather than later. So that would be awesome. Let's see what else is going on. After Riley Green went, Jordan Montgomery, I selected Charlie Blackmon as my utility bat. I think we get a little bit of a bounce back this year from Charlie Blackmon. Good, solid batting average, high teens and home runs. Okay counting stats, I think. After Blackmon goes Ramon Laureano, Drew Rasmussen, Steven Strasburg, and Elias Diaz, somebody who I find myself targeting quite often as my second catcher.
Yep. That would have been one of the catchers that if I wanted to jump in head of line, I would have jumped ahead in line for.
Okay.
But there's really one last pitcher who I feel pretty good about not hurting me. So I'll take him. I'll take John Means.
Business.
Who's kind of like Tavale in that he'll probably excel at whip, may have ERA troubles, but may not because they're moving the fences way back in left field, Camden Yards. His extreme fly ball tendencies may actually play to his benefit because of that. If it becomes a difficult part for right-handed hitters to homer in, and it looks like it will be. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not as hopeful for a big strikeout rate from John Means like last year, but he could be good apart from that.
All right. After you selected John Means, O'Neal Cruz goes to our buddy Dan Schneier. Breakout candidate for me. Speaking of prospects being up early, he ended the season with the Pirates. He played 3 games. He hit his first career home run. He also has the record for the hardest hit ball in the StatCast era by any Pittsburgh Pirates player, and he did that in 3 games. So a very unique skill set for O'Neal Cruz. Big human being, 6'7", power, speed. Maybe some strikeouts and lower batting average to start, but I am very intrigued by the skill set there. After he goes, Mike Zunino, Austin Hayes. Chris selects Herman Marquez to finish out round 21. And Gene Segura, my man, to start round 22. And Alejandro Kirk goes. So, Scotty, some catchers starting to go here, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, all the ones I was sort of excited to take. But that's what happens when you get in the last 2 rounds, right? Like a lot of people are going to be taking catchers. It's kind of like kickers in fantasy football. Not exactly, because, obviously some people filled their catcher spots early, but there aren't many catchers worth using those spots on early. I'm going to take Travis d'Arnaud.
Travis d'Arnaud. I mentioned this on our catcher preview, Scott. When I looked into the numbers from d'Arnaud last year, I was so underwhelmed. I guess it felt like he had a much better season than he did. I guess it was just the 2020 that stood out.
The 2020 season, he was incredible.
Yeah, he was so fantastic. There's obviously a chance he can get back on track there. I think they could use him as the DH some days to help keep his bat in the lineup and keep him healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
He had a thumb injury last year. And look, I mean, he played over his head in 2020, obviously.
For sure.
Never had a year like that before. It was pandemic shortened season. I just don't think that's a realistic outcome for him. But you look at the previous year, 2019, 251 with 16 homers and 351 at bats for the Rays. Like, I think that's something you can hope Darno, those are numbers you can hope Darno will meet. And it was interesting because even though he was struggling last season, the Braves gave him an extension amid those struggles. So they clearly haven't lost confidence in him. So, I think he'll be in a 2-catcher league, a perfectly serviceable starter.
All right, we're coming up here on the last round of the draft. After Scotty selected Travis d'Arnaud, Cal Quantrill, James McCann, Bobby Dahlbeck, Tarek Skubal, I selected Sean Murphy as my second catcher. So pairing him up with Yasmani Grandal. Definitely a down season for Sean Murphy last year, but Yan Gomes is no longer with the team. He signed with the Chicago Cubs. I think they're going to turn it back over to Sean Murphy. Lots of pop in that bat. Batting average is probably going to hurt you quite a bit, but I still think there's something there with Sean Murphy. He's young enough. He's just got to put it together. I like the skill set. But yeah, it's just a matter of consistency and him figuring it out. A lot of catchers here going. After Sean Murphy goes MJ Melendez and then Carson Kelly. Scott, what do you think the plan is for MJ Melendez this season? Because it's a pretty hard situation for me to figure out. Obviously, they have Salvador Perez. They have Nick Prado. They have Vinny Pasquantino. They have Bobby Witt. They have all these prospects coming. It's just, do you think maybe they give Salvi some more days at DH and they call up Melendez and let him play catcher? I really don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah. So, I mean, Melendez played a third of his minor league season at AAA and had even better numbers there than AA. He was the minor league leader in home runs last year as a catcher with 41. So you would think he'd be up pretty early this year. He did get some exposure to third base last year, I think in anticipation of, okay, we can't just make this guy our catcher. Obviously, Salvador Perez is there. I don't think they're going to give up on Melendez as a catcher, but they might get creative with their usage of him to get him in the lineup more. Obviously, we saw Salvador Perez get more starts than ever at DH last year. So as he gets older, I think that will continue. And the biggest question for Melendez, I think, is just when does he come up? They'll figure out a way to get him at bats when he does. If Vinny Pasquantino beats him to the majors, that could present a challenge. And obviously it would have to be Pasquantino and Nick Prado, both of the first basemen, beating him to the majors. And I just don't think that's likely to happen. I mean, Pasquantino hasn't even played at AAA yet.
Yeah. I think if Pasquantino beats Melendez to the majors, Scott, that means something probably went wrong with Nick Prado. That would be my suspicion. But yeah, it's a good problem for the Royals to have. They have all this young talent. So now they just got to figure out how to get everybody at bats. Let's see. Round 23, our final round has begun, and Aaron Ashby goes off the board, a breakout candidate, prospect pitcher for the Brewers. Just don't know if he's going to be in the rotation to start the season. Same thing could be said for Garrett Whitlock, who goes with the next pick to the Red Sox. He could be their closer. He could be in the rotation. Lots of upside there. I took Ken Giles as my third quote-unquote closer. I know the Mariners have a lot of relievers there, so no sure guarantee. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery as well, but obviously has the experience. And, if he's himself, then obviously he has the stuff as well. After I select Ken Giles, Raimel Tapia, Will Myers, Omar Narvaez, Mike Yastrzemski. Scott, you select Eric Haas. Max Stassi goes Lane Thomas. Fantastic pick. 274, round 23. Love it. But yeah, Eric Haas, your second catcher here, Scotty. You take him over Max Stassi.
Yeah, I thought about taking him actually with the previous pick instead of d'Arnaud. I'm a little surprised in this format in particular, where you're just looking to get something at catcher. I'm a little surprised Haas is kind of going ignored. I understand the Tigers got Tucker Barnhart this offseason. He's going to be their primary catcher, but Haas will be the backup catcher and get at bats in the outfield too. So I think there will be. I think relative to other catchers, there will be enough at bats for him. And he was one of the best power hitters at the position last year. Now, he struck out way too much, and there's a chance he just whiffs his way out of a job, essentially. But I think certainly with the last pick and at a position where it's so hard to get any kind of production at all, the risk is worth the reward.
Yeah, look, he's an interesting player too. He played some games in the outfield last year, so
Yep.
They
Yeah,
can.
Yep. That's
They
where
can
he's going to
get.
get that's where he's going to get those extra at bats.
Yep. All right, Scott. Let's wrap up by looking through our teams real quick. Say maybe what we like, what we don't like, and just how it turned out. If our strategy worked to fruition or not. And let's start
Sure.
with your offense. You've got Travis Darno and Eric Haas at catcher. You've got CJ Crone from the Profit Pocket at first base. Brandon Lau, Rafael Devers, Corey Seager, Nicky Lopez, and Matt Chapman as the rest of your infield. And then your outfield is Adam Duvall, Hunter Renfro, Chris Bryant, Alex Kiriloff, Joe Adell, and you've got Shohei Ohtani in your utility spot. What do you think?
I think it's okay. I don't think it's my best work. It kind of makes me second guess whether I like Ohtani as my first round pick because I felt like there was pressure to make up for batting average the rest of the way. Of course, I'm not going to be somebody who finishes high in the steals category, but I got a couple of guys who should combine for about 50 steals. And if I can make up, if I can get about 20 more from the rest of my lineup, that should put me in the middle of the steal standings, which is what I'm aiming for. There's enough power, I think. Picks like Adam Duvall and Eric Haas helped with that, but I do wonder if the batting average is going to be what I would like it to be. There are some high guys in there, some guys who are going to help offset the low guys, like Nicky Lopez. I think could be a 300 hitter. Of course, Corey Seager, who I targeted explicitly for that reason. Who else? I mean, Devers is going to be fine in batting average, of course. Crone should be fine in batting average. But then you got low guys like Lau and Ohtani and Duvall, and Renfro is probably going to be on the lower end. Joe Adell, who knows what to expect. But I think it should be fine. I think it should be fine. I've done better. I think it should be fine.
Yeah, for me, Scott, when it comes to Ohtani, I'm not really worried about the production, even though the batting average might be a little bit lower. It's the position that, you have to use him at utility. I just, especially in a Roto size lineup, it just feels like I'm chasing other positions for the entire draft after that, just because he's stuck in that utility spot. So
yeah, I don't know.
I love the player.
It didn't feel that way to me in this one.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the thing is, if you're chasing at other positions, it's because your utility player is that much better than everybody else's. So, if your middle infielder ends up a little worse, I don't know. I don't think, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't know if that's the appropriate expression, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, and obviously, so I was saying my hitting isn't quite up to the standards I want, but that's of course because I spent 4 of my first 7 picks on pitchers. Right? It was Shane Bieber, Sandy Alcantara, Kevin Gossman, and Frankie Montas. I think it was 4 of my first 8 actually. But that's heavier than starting pitcher than I've normally been going in rotisserie, and obviously gave me a big advantage there. So there's some trade-off. I think all things being equal, I'd rather stick to my normal approach at starting pitcher, which is to get 3 of my top 30 instead of my 4 of my top 30, and hopefully have a higher end hitting base. But I kind of had to go with the flow of this draft, and nobody seemed to want to invest in starting pitchers. And I think it was appropriate to go for them when I did, considering.
Yeah, I mean, they all fell to good values, so it's not like you did anything crazy in terms of that ADP where players are going right now. So yeah, we kind of both tried out a similar strategy because I am not really leaning into starting pitchers early much myself, and I wound up taking 2 starting pitchers with my first 3 picks, and I think it was 3 of my first 8. I think that's when I got Joe Musgrove, either 8th or 9th round. But yeah, just taking pitchers that early is not normal for me. So I'll quickly run through the team, and I don't know, Scotty, you can give me a grade or give me your feedback on what I did here. My catchers, I've got Yasmani Grandal and Sean Murphy. Then I've got Pete Alonso, Luis Arias, Jose Ramirez, Francisco Lindor, Colton Wong, and Josh Bell in the infield. In the outfield, I've got Eloy Jimenez, JD Martinez, Eddie Rosario, Robbie Grossman, Jesus Sanchez, and I've got Charlie Blackmon at the utility spot. So my initial takeaway, you know what? I don't think it's as bad as I thought while I was drafting. Batting average might be a little bit too low. Got some pop from Pete Alonso, from Grandal, Jose Ramirez. I think Lindor probably gets close to 30 homers. JD, Eloy, power there. Jesus Sanchez. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good blend of offense, Scott. What do you think here?
I think it makes me feel better about my lineup.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just not the kind of build I'm going for this year. Too many non-power bats, and I don't think enough steals to make up for it. Like if you're gonna have that many guys who are gonna fall short of 20 home runs, I feel like you need to ensure you're gonna be one of the better stolen base teams in the league.
How many guys do you think are going to fall short of 20 here? Let's see. Probably Sean Murphy.
Forget the catchers. Yeah, I mean, but Colton Wong,
sure.
Robbie Grossman, Eddie Rosario's borderline. Charlie Blackmon certainly will.
Eddie Rosario, borderline, 20 homers.
Borderline. I think Luis Arias is borderline too. I mean, he hit more than 20 last year, but
all right. So maybe 4 or 5 guys, something like that. But
yeah.
All right. But look, I knew you were going to like it because, like, obviously there's just players there that you just don't like. Francisco.
I feel like a big meanie. You put me.
No, it's fine. I mean, look, that's why we're here. We gotta talk it out, man. This is like
what do I know?
End of the podcast. This is like our therapy session.
What do I know? Even really?
I mean, the people
nothing.
They want to hear your opinion, Scott.
Yeah,
that's why we're here. All right. So the pitching staff. I mentioned I drafted 2 pitchers with my first 3 picks. That included Zach Wheeler and Walker Buehler. Then I got Joe Musgrove as my SP3. I've got Sean Manaea as my SP4. I've got Marcus Strowman and Alex Wood as the starting pitchers. And then at closer, I've got Will Smith. I've got Mark Melancon, and I've got Ken Giles. And this feels pretty good. This is a pitching staff I would love to wind up with. I think I would also be perfectly fine if I didn't have one of Wheeler or Buehler, and I just substituted that for like a mid-round SP2 or SP3. Maybe if I had another power bat in here, I would like this a little bit more. But that was the problem. I selected Jose Ramirez with my first pick, and then Manny Machado was my top hitter, and I didn't want to go third base to start my draft. But maybe I should have reconsidered it. So
yeah. I mean, the pitching staff is strong, so. Yeah, I mean, obviously you paid more for it, so that makes sense. I think it looks good though.
It certainly does. Scott, is this draft going to be on the site as well if people want to check it out?
Yes, it is.
All right. So if you want to find out all of the draft results that we spoke about throughout this draft, if you want to find out how Chris Towers' team turned out as well, then you could find the draft on the site, cbssports.com/fantasy/baseball. We're going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching this mock draft edition of Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.